Welcome back. This is Daybreak, and thanks for staying with us. The hashtag on X is Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadir. In the esteemed company, of course, of Naima Rajab, who is an advocate of the High Court. Good morning.
Good morning.
Lovely having you here, Wakili. Always appreciated. With us also this morning is Sophie Mugure Njehia. She is a youth advocate from the Revolutionary Gen Z Movement, RGM. Good morning. Much appreciated. Remy Osoti is the president, Multimedia University. Good morning, Bwana Rais.
Good morning.
Thank you for your time. We are also joined by Kamau Ambeo. He's the chairperson of the National Youth Caucus and is affiliated to the opposition faction of the political divide. Good morning.
Good morning.
Joshua Okayo will be joining us shortly, former president of the Kenya School of Law and the leader of the Revolutionary Gen Z Movement. Will also be joined by Mark Ouko, the youth coordinator, the National Students' Council of Kenya, here on the broadcast, as we take the account of this young Kenyans here on the broadcast. Much appreciated. I begin with you first, Sophie, and we are 5 days to June 25th, and the papers are reporting this morning of detailed plan by security heads, including how to secure the demonstrations and making sure that goons do not infiltrate. Given what we witnessed on Tuesday, is that feasible and is it practical?
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'd like to say we all know where the goons have come from. The goons are not protesters. Our protests from the very beginning have been known to be peaceful. Even from last year, June 18th, all the way to 21st, they were peaceful until the government decided to infiltrate us with goons, same as this year. So on Tuesday this week, we saw the police protect the goons. We saw them cover them. So in real sense, Abdi, it is not us who are the goons. We are actually peaceful protesters protesting for our rights and for justice for our fallen comrades. So that should not be a real issue. In fact, they should check themselves because they're the cause of the insecurity. Okay.
And Remy, coming to you, how are students at the universities, of course, speaking for multimedia, viewing this monumental time in the calendar of Kenya's history, given what young Kenyans, you included, have raised last year and the relevance of it in how we govern ourselves as a democracy?
Thank you so much, Ayub. I think taking into account over the recent past, the happenings of the recent past, it has raised a lot of concerns, a lot of fury, a lot of frustrations. When you see youths raise concerns, which are, of course, very genuine, very touching. But I believe the only thing that we need to set up is the aspect of now providing solutions. It's from where I sit that I take lamentations should also come with some little bit of solutions. And it's the solutions that we're going to table, that we're going to offer, is that will make this nation move forward. It's okay to agitate. It's okay to lament. It's okay to demonstrate. It's okay to call on the government. It's okay to correct the government. It's okay to do anything to make the country move forward. But our main concern where we are seated or where we are moving as a nation is, what is this that we are now providing as the alternative solution? We cannot be sitting in a nation where 5 days in a week, 3 days are meant for demonstration. Then 2 days are now meant for work. Then we are not moving as a nation. I believe it's high time that we must now look for alternative solutions towards making our voices heard, towards giving proper solutions, and towards ensuring that our country move forward. If we really love this nation, and if this nation that we all want and urge to sit in, then that is the solution. That is the direction that we must take. The diplomacy method, I believe, it's worked over the recent past, and even in this one, it's not too late for it to work.
Okay, to the solutions, I'll come to you, Council Naima. And one of the things that the president did on the 5th of July last year was to convene an online meeting with then Gen Zs at the time, where issues were deliberated, although some had boycotted the meeting by the head of state. But what does this tell us in terms of where we are if we are to stock take and give ourselves the report card? Have some of the issues that you young guys have went to the streets for been met? Have your demands been addressed?
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Ayub. On the question of the online meeting that was scheduled by the president on Twitter, not very many Kenyans are literate. Like, not all Kenyans have devices that they can log in for that meeting. Public participation should not be limited to people who have, you know, there needs to be equity. The president needs to go to the ground, you know. We have very many wards in Kenya. We have very many MPs. We have MCAs. These things should be discussed at the ground level. What do youths want? It's not something that should be discussed on a X platform. So it will not yield the results that we want. With regard to the scorecard, the main reason why we as Gen Zs went to the street is because of the punitive finance bill. And with regard to that, we can say with our chest that it was successful. But there are other issues like unemployment, poor education systems. They keep changing things, you know, just rebranding from CBC. Now, the last time I went to a meeting at my child's school, they said it's now CBE, curriculum-based education. So I'm wondering, how is this solving the crisis that is there? So with regard to the scorecard, with regard to the demonstration that we went to and the meeting, there were things that we have seen that have been successful, but unfortunately we still need to be in the streets for our demands to be met. Yeah,
and we'll talk about these solutions because a year later, what then are the accomplishments if we are to show that annual scorecard? And Kamau, coming to you, what then needs to happen here? Because other than the tax proposals that you folks were opposed to, there were also other gross governance issues like corruption, unemployment, state of education, inequality, involvement of young Kenyans in the governance of their country. Ideally then, how will these other issues come out be addressed other than the proposals in the now dead bill? This year, momentum wasn't as much about it. So how will these other issues be addressed, which are underlying?
Thank you, Ayub, for today. And I want to start by saying that the young people, they are not the leaders of tomorrow, but the truth tellers of today. And that is where the cost is coming in. The reason we've been told, we've believed to be told that we are the leaders of tomorrow. This tomorrow never comes. Someone is 25, 30, 26, is still a leader, like my young brother here, is a leader in the campus, is a president. So we are the truth tellers of today. So in the course of some of the things that the government should, you know, look forward to doing to the young people is let us create mentorship and not dictatorship. We are having a government that is looking to dictate these young people. These young people are learned. These young people are exposed. They know what they are doing. They have seen quite something. Now what they should, and they're exposed to a lot of information. This information should be brought down and broken down to, you know, stages, processes, and that is now where mentorship comes in. If we see like some of these young people who are jailed, like the other day we had the Rose who was jailed. She was jailed just because of creating a platform where young people and the whole of Kenyans will come and give their views on the finance bill. Now you take someone like that, you jail them, that is dictatorship. You were supposed to, that is a brain. Take it, mold it, mentor it, and then in the wrong land, you're making it great. Safe space to explore identity. Schools, churches, the streets, everywhere. Let people do what they want. Democracy, they want to demonstrate. Let them picket. They will walk, they will say it, you listen, you come and meet them to their point of need. Not come and meet them to their point of need and add more needs and violate their needs. Yes. Yeah.
And Sophie, coming to you, what the police bosses are discussing includes the final strategy for June 25th anniversary demonstrations. Commanders at the station level have now been instructed to gather intelligence proactively, and the plan details how the police intend to maintain law and order, particularly in the capital city, starting on Wednesday next week. But then how practical can this be, given what happened to Boniface, who was the mask vendor who was shot at a close range, innocently, not even protesting, and the fact that it's the same National Police Service who tried to conceal the murder of Mwalimu Albert Ojwang while in their safe space?
You see, we are not safe anywhere, whether we are outside, whether we are inside. Albert they came for him in his parents' house. The mask vendor, literally, there is a video showing a few minutes before he was shot. The guy was not even protesting. So the National Police Service right now, Ayub, is not supposed to be called the National Police Service. It's gone back to National Police Force. Because they, in fact, if you come to the ground, because I go for every protest, they're the ones who start. They see us gather, they throw tear gas. They see us gather, they start shooting bullets. So when it comes to them looking for solutions in terms of security, the Constitution has given us the right to assemble and to picket. In fact, this time I would advise them to just sit back and relax and watch us be peaceful and watch us take our petition to Parliament, take our petition to the highest offices, to at least petition for compensation for those that we lost. Allow me to say something. A government that is progressive is seen in where it puts its finances. My brother here, Mark, has said that Remy has said that we need to focus on solutions. If at all we're talking about solutions that this government is providing, they are reducing funds from the critical sectors of our nation: education, health, agriculture. All those have gotten reductions in the current budget. And now they are increasing money to the executive office. Ati government advisory is getting 30 million. The security sector is getting 475 billion, Ayub, and we have some of our weapons in Sudan. Is this money going to procure more weapons to be taken to Sudan? Is this money going to procure more tear gas and more bullets for us who are said to be peaceful protesters here in Kenya? It's crazy how they're handling us. And I wonder the plan this government has to restore sanity and to restore the relationship between the citizenry and the police force. Because if we continue with this anarchy, we then will not be responsible for what comes after. Because the more unanikanyagia, the more I will resist. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah.
And Remy, then, where's the thin line between what we witnessed on Tuesday of goons who are protected by police, the partnership between them and the police and the protesters?
Thank you so much, Ayub. Again, for justice to prevail either way in a democracy, a democratic nation like Kenya, I believe a number of measurements must be put into place. Just to answer your question, but also to bring it to my sister, also to correct some few things. In the just read finance bill, I think one of the most...
Budget.
But the budget that was read, I believe amongst the most observed and critical moments that was observed is the education sector. I think for the first time in the history of the nation, we're experiencing the allocation for education go a little bit higher compared to whatever that we have.
702 billion.
Yes, 702 billion. For the first time, we're seeing at least we are rising from an increment of 35 billion that is used for higher education loans board to a tune of 41 billion. I believe we should give credit where it belongs. The only problem I'm having with my generation is only one. We are much focused on the aspect of negativity, such that even on something that is positive, we cannot appreciate and we also give credit where it's due. I believe for a kid to be born, there are what is called the baby steps. We have to take the baby steps. Sometimes the government might have been tempted to be bad, but then it reaches a point where they try to come back to the track, which I believe of the recent past has been the main focus of the government. So when they try to come back to track, I believe we should also encourage and recommend whatever that they're doing, which is okay. Coming back to your question, when you talk about now the last week's protest, I believe no one can be so happy or no one can celebrate seeing the innocent citizens, maybe like the one that was having the face masks, brutally injured by the police. The only thing I'm taking into consideration at this moment and at this point is that there are sections within the government, we still have a few within the government that are working so hard to ensure that the image of the government is tainted every other day. We wake up in Kenya.
So who are they?
Every other day.
Who shot a Kenyan.
That's why I'm coming. Yeah. We wake up every other day in the morning and we see Kenya has got a breaking news. And the breaking news is that every institution within this government runs as maybe like the police example. It's an independent institution. So sometimes I believe whenever there's a problem, we should condemn the problem just the same way even the president himself comes out on Brutal and say, we have to stop this police brutality. We have to come out and arrest and prosecute the rogue police officers. That, I believe, that is the most humble thing that a president can try and do to bring order in the nation. Oh. But then to condemn and say that now that the police use excessive force, and then now we want to drag an entire government into something that an institution has done. I believe that is the way we are making it.
Well, the National Police Service is part of government, is it?
Yes.
Sure. But then, now, it's an institution within the government.
And institutions, of course, form government.
Sure.
And especially in our constitutional democracy and architecture.
Yes.
So, therefore, it's only fair that accountability must be put
Accountability must be put
on the part of the duty bearers.
Which is okay, and we also recommend that one. And you've had, not once, not twice, Ayub, the president coming out and even giving a press release saying that we must move away from this issue of where the police is using excessive force.
Okay.
I've had the legislators once or not twice say, even from the government themselves and the opposition, yeah, and even those people who are claimed to be the ODM, okay, they come up and unitedly they speak on one front saying that those rogue police officers must be dealt with. I believe that is the most important.
Okay, other than the executive promises and the anger directed on the part of the duty bearers, what then happens as justice to the family of 60 Kenyans who were killed last year?
I believe, Ayub, that's where we are coming on, and now the youths are now coming about now to talk about the 25th. Taking my side about now the 25th, I believe to give the families that lost their loved ones, and I was in those streets that time, a decent moment to mourn and remember and the memory of their loved ones. I believe going to the streets is not a solution. I still take that account. Why? Going to the streets will again give us another victim. Ayub, we've seen not once, not twice. Even in as much as we try also as the civilians to try and take our stand and say that we speak out. But we've also seen innocent youths who are not armed also confronting the police officers.
Okay, point taken, but going to the streets is constitutionally provided and protected, sure, as such. And the victims have all been, of course, according to the documentations done by the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, Amnesty International, the Independent Medical and Legal Unit, Haki Africa, and other organizations have documented all this. Mark, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
I'll be coming to you shortly.
Asante.
Yes, come on.
Maybe I can help my brother just a little bit to dilute whatever you had asked about the police. And I want to tell him that the president was sworn in and he swore to protect the Constitution. Article 244 of the Kenyan Constitution, this is directed to the National Police Service, that the police strive for higher standards of protection and discipline, of professionalism, protection and discipline among its members, and respect human rights and fundamental freedom. That is what the police are supposed to do to Kenyans. Now here we have the police who are here, the wanatuzi woga. Instead, they continue to intimidate us. They vowed when they were going to office, they were supposed to come and protect Kenyans. What we saw with Boniface, yesterday I had gone to see the young man in hospital. The young guy is laying there in ICU. He was a young man who was trying to, make a living out of the small masks he had. This is someone with an entrepreneurial mind who saw business opportunity in the midst of darkness. In the midst of everything, he just went and tried to make some supper lunch. But now he is a police officer who is coming, passing, and then sees a young man standing, and then just there, so close range. I wonder what my brother here would be thinking and telling us not to go to the streets when we are seeing that someone who does not care, he is aware, not unless he goes for a psychiatrist a test to see that he's not mad, but he knew that media was on him, everyone was looking at him, and you go ahead to hurt and shoot an innocent Kenyan just standing there, hands on. And they continue to fight. You know, that's a coward. You can't beat someone who has already retreated. You get. So I think, and I beg to differ with my brother here.
Yes, yes. Yes, Councillor, I'll come to you.
Yes, just to state that the reason why picketing and assembling is provided for in the Constitution is to enforce rights, because the rights are there, the institutions are there, but sometimes these institutions fail us. And you know, when there's a failed institutions, there's a high chance and risk of weak people or of marginalized communities and marginalized Kenyans to face discrimination, to face arbitrary arrest and all this. So the moment we do not protest, then we do not build the pressure. We need to go to the streets in order to build the pressure so that Kenyans can protest and wafungue roho, let people be. Let people protest because it is a constitutional right. Now, you remember there was the issue of the SARS in Nigeria on issues police brutality. And it was very effective. If not for the protests, the Nigerian police would have still be on the streets doing all sorts of evil that they were doing to the Nigerian people. So I will like to tell Remy that if he is a student leader, if he is a student president, let him tell his students that they need to come out to the streets, because other than that, it's fighting political, tribal politics in Kenya. If one thing that these protests have shown us is that Kenyans are willing to go beyond the tribe. This narrative of tribal politics that is being peddled by the politicians, it is something that the Gen Zs have dismantled in the protests. So it's also building international pressure. The other day, there was a research student, a PhD student, who came to my office to interview me because they have seen what is happening in Kenya. So these are the things that the protests bring to life, and we should not curtail this.
Okay. Mark, good morning again. Yes, let me just say, I'll get to you. We still have some time, and also come to Sophie. Yes, Mark, good morning.
Good morning.
Love having you again here on the broadcast.
Yes, asante sana.
Thanks for your time. Well, 25th, looking at it, historic in many ways. Demands, of course, that young Kenyans had made last year, have they been met? What are the solutions? And this coming, of course, against the planning by the police bosses to secure the city ahead of that day when Kenyans will be out on the streets as planned.
Yes, thank you so much, Ayub, for having me. Now, I think I'll decipher the issue in terms of in three ways, okay? Now, the first thing is in relation to the question that you have asked in terms of the goals that would need to be achieved by these, you know, the Gen Z movement who are being perceived will be highly in the streets on that day. Now, one, there are two kind of, I think one of my biggest challenge, especially with the Gen Z movement, is that the lack of sense of direction and the lack of sense of vision, especially in whatever they are doing. There's so much euphoria that leads this movement, especially when they are pursuing their goals. Now, there are two kind of goals you can pursue, especially when you're going to the streets. There is an active goal you can pursue, then there is the passive goals that you can pursue. Now, whenever these people on the streets, for example, on Monday, you're asking yourselves, why were these people in the streets? Was there an acknowledgement? What was the active goal they were pursuing in the streets? Was it to remove Eliud Lagat from office? Was it because of the Albert Ojwang of office? Or was it because of some form of euphoria? So the first thing is that we need to have active goals as to why they are on the streets. Now, the second thing is now to understand the nature of the people who will be on the streets. Now, sometimes we might see so many on the streets, then we think it's because people are actually aggravated. Now, on the streets, say even on that June 25th, you know, on that day, Monday, I was actually in town just to do some observations. Who are these people who are actually on the streets? Now, there are three kind of crowds that you'll see there on the streets. Now, there are people we call hired crowds, okay? Then number two, we have the plastic crowds. And number three, we have the organic crowds. The hired crowds on Monday are the ones who formed the majority of those who are in the streets. Sure. They hired crowds, especially that Monday. I saw a number of them were coming from Thika Road, and I was wondering to myself, how did all these people, so many people, just decide, you know, to come from one area and find themselves? Yeah. There must have been some level of mobilization that was done, and I think if you have been around for a while, you'll know this. Then there is the plastic crowds. There are people who are just in town and they say, it's like people are protesting for Juang today. Let me also join this crowd. Then thirdly is organic. These people who are just naturally frustrated by everything that is doing. Then thirdly, I want to say this. The forest might change, but the monkeys remain the same. Even if we decided to remove President Ruto on 25th, even if we decided to remove all the police chiefs on the day, there will be a new crop of leaders. What gives the assurity that there will be change merely because there is a change of leadership? It is that we should be fighting on how we strengthen institution structures, even within the police self. Okay. Because there is no day, Ayub, in this country where people ever love the person who occupies the office of IG. So the problem in this country is that we are always actively pursuing the passive goals more than the active goals. Okay, when we get back from the break, Sophie, I'll begin with you. I see you uneasy.
It is something. Yeah,
and as well your other, of course, accounts. The hashtag on X is Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadir. We are back with more with the ladies and the gentlemen after the break here on the broadcast. Stay tuned.